Okay, I'd like to call to order the March 11th, 2024 regular meeting of the East Bethel City Council. Can we please rise and say the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. We don't have any presentations and public hearings that I'm aware of, so we can go right into the public forum. Dean?
Yes.
Dean Ealing? Is it Elling or Ealing?
Ealing.
Ealing. If you can state your address and all that
Yes.
too.
Name is Dean Ealing, 20701 Monroe Street, Northeast. I have been a resident of East Bethel for 34 years.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, council members, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with you again. I last spoke with you during the public forum portion of the City Council meeting on February 12th. At that time, I shared with the council that the East Bethel Village 2 apartment building, the construction of which was funded through a tax increment finance plan, does not offer any units that are affordable to persons or families at or below 50% of the area median income. The reason I raise this issue and why I feel that it is important is that the 2020 East Bethel City Council that approved the TIF project in the first place believed it was voting to require the developer to make 14 units affordable to low-income residents of our city. In reality, that never happened. All units are currently offered at full market rate rents only. At that February 12th meeting, I was invited to submit my questions on the issue to Mr. Jaworski, who in turn referred them to Eller's finance advisors for clarification. Tonight, I report to you on the responses from Eller's. One concern that I expressed to Eller's is in connection with how the developer screens low-income applicants. I was advised a year ago by the property manager at East Bethel Village Apartments that a low-income applicant would be approved for a lease if the individual can get someone to sign on as a guarantor, or if the applicant can show they have a significant balance in a savings or investment account. I would assume then that a low-income applicant who cannot get a guarantor or who does not have significant savings or investments would not qualify for a lease. My question of Eller's regarding this was, does this type of screening of low-income applicants amount to a roadblock for some individuals seeking affordable housing? And is it in compliance with the agreement with the city? Eller's response, quote, screening requirements for applicants and rents charged are not regulated or directed by the city. It is purely private market driven. The only requirement the city has pursuant to the TIF law and the agreement with the developer is that the required number of units are occupied by persons with incomes at or below 50% of the area median income for each year of reporting, end quote. I believe that the 2020 City Council intended that the low-income individuals only had to prove that their income was less than 50% of AMI. I can't imagine that that City Council intended for them to also have to come up with a rich uncle somewhere as a guarantor, or that they own a robust investment portfolio just in order to qualify for a lease, and then once qualified, pay full market rate rent. Ellers never did address the question about the screening process being a roadblock, but I think we can all draw our own conclusions. And to borrow a line from George Orwell's Animal Farm, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Another question I had of Ellers dealt with the affordable housing aspect of the 2020 City Council resolution. In a July 13th, 2020 memorandum written by Stacy Kilvang of Ellers, the City Council was advised, quote, at least 20% of the units, 14, must be made affordable to persons at or below 50% of the AMI. The developer must comply with this requirement. The developer must report annually by April 1st to the city showing compliance with this requirement. My question of Ellers was, how can East Bethel Village Apartments be in compliance when they have 0 affordable units and not the 14 units that Ms. Kilvang said would be required? The answer I received on February 14th from Ellers, quote, they are in compliance. The requirement is to be income qualified. Rents are not restricted, end quote.
That's a really important point, that one right there. That jumped
so
out
too.
at me, because that's really gets to the heart of your questions.
And that was their answer. And I have to say that although tax increment finance law is complex,
Wow.
I believe I possess enough common sense to know that there is a big difference between the July 13th, 2020 Ellers statement that said the developer is required to provide affordable housing and their February 14th, 2024 statement that said the developer is not required to provide affordable housing. It would take someone wiser than I to reconcile those two statements. How can it be that the 2020 City Council approved affordable housing, or at least was led to believe that they were approving affordable housing, and yet 3 years and 7 months later, this City Council is being told it never happened? I'm sharing this information that I have gathered so far with Anoka County Commissioner Julie Brasted as a courtesy to her, since East Bethel is in her district, and also because the county may have an interest in the issue due to the property tax element. I have packets that contain a copy of this statement as well as the full response from Ellers, along with some additional documents that I have not shared with you before because of time constraints. The packet also contains a disclosure noting my previous contact with INH Properties in connection with an issue that is not related to affordable housing. The packets are for any one of you who is interested, and I would be happy at any time at your convenience to go through the documents if you wish. And I thank you for your continued interest in this issue.
Could you make sure, Matt, could you get a copy of that
I've not received a copy yet. no.
stuff? And could we get, is that all right with you?
Yes, I have 5 packets, so,
Oh,
Yeah, why don't you just hand them out?
okay.
No.
yeah.
Oh, give them to Mr. Look, he'll give them to us after the meeting.
Thank you, Dean.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Suzanne?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Urkel. I live on Okinawa Street, and I thought you guys were going to get rid of us publicizing our address out there so our enemies can't attack our house.
I thought we did.
But anyways,
I don't know, did we?
I thought we did.
everybody says their address up here. I'm like,
Well,
I
they're
don't want to
probably
say
used
my
to the old
address.
Well, it's still on the list
It's-
here. so.
Yeah,
Huh. Sorry.
and the directions are to say your address, but I live on Okinawa Street. And I want to, before I get into my spiel, I wanted to address his, because I was on the council, and I do recall that was the impression we got, that it was going to be, they were going to get housing the complex was going to get housing assistance for a percentage of low-income people, so the low-income would pay a portion and the government would pay a portion. That system, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's a housing assistance program that the state and the country has. So I was under that impression, and I thought that was the whole purpose of getting that high-density housing, so we would have affordable housing for a percentage of our residents. So that being said, I'm a member of the seniors group, and we've got some events that come up regularly, like the senior dance, and I was wondering if it would be possible to put that on the scrolling billboard marquee out there on 65 and 22. The monthly senior dance, first Friday every month, 1 to 4, and then we've got a vendor show, Arts and Craft Fair coming up on May 4th. I'm wondering if that could start being publicized around the middle of April up on the marquee, and then even into the next newsletter if we didn't miss it already. I don't know.
No, you haven't.
Okay, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne.
For saying that, Suzanne. I thought you were on council back then. I was gonna bring it up and ask you.
Huh? So you guys got that? So. Sure.
Well, it is
That's a
recorded,
look
Mr.
you're
Mayor,
giving me,
and
sure.
Carrie would be the one that would control whether
Yeah,
that goes on
I
the
know.
board or not, so hopefully with the recording, she'll hear that,
I'm
what
just giving
Suzanne's
you a
request
hard
was.
time, Aaron,
Yep.
that's all. Yeah, I rarely get by that sign, so I have no knowledge about what's up there and what isn't, so,
Too busy watching that circle.
yeah. The dread settles in right about at that sign, yeah. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any, motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Didn't hear anybody. Okay. Next item on the agenda, item 7, is new business, and under that is the Planning Commission, a variance request for 19455 4th Street Northeast, which I believe is putting up a garage between the house and the road in that development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The City of East Bethel has received a variance request application for the placement of a detached accessory structure nearer the front line than the primary structure. This property is located in a rural residential zoning district and is within the Norsland Manor subdivision. The property owner is requesting a variance for the placement of a detached accessory structure closer to the street than his primary structure on the south side of the lot. Zoning Appendix A General Regulations, Section 14.2 states that no accessory building or detached private garage shall be located nearer the front lot line than the principal building, except for when the lot is greater than 3 acres or the existing structure is located a minimum of 200 feet from the lot line. Then the accessory building or detached private garage may be located closer to the front lot line than the principal dwelling, but not closer than 50%. This property is 1.09 acres, with the primary structure set back approximately 95 feet, from the front lot line. This request does not meet the criteria set forth to allow for the structure to be placed closer to the road, so a variance would be required for the placement of the detached accessory structure. When considering a variance, there's a requirement to consider a three-factor practical test. The first factor is a test of reasonableness, which means that the landowner would likely use the property in a way practical, but cannot do so under the rules of the ordinance. It does not mean that the land cannot be put to reasonable use whatsoever without the variance. So for example, if the variance application is for a building too close to the lot line or does not meet a required setback, the focus of the first factor is whether the request to place the building is reasonable. In this case, accessory structures are permitted accessory uses in the rural residential family zoning district. The second factor is that the landowner's problem is due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowner himself. The uniqueness generally relates to the physical characteristics of the particular piece of property. That is, that the land and not the personal characteristics or preference of the landowner. When considering a variance for a building to encroach or intrude into a setback, the focus of this factor is whether there's anything physically unique about the particular piece of property, such as sloping topography or other natural features like a wetland. In this case, the property is relatively flat with a 2-foot change in elevation across the entire 1+ acre lot. The primary residence was constructed in 1986 and built directly in the middle of the lot. The well and septic are located on the north side of the residence. There are 25 side yard setbacks in the rural residential zoning district, and the house is located approximately 88 feet from the side property line. There are 25-foot rear setbacks in the rural residential zoning district. There is 125 feet between the front foundation and the rear property line on this property. Zoning code allows for a 1,240 square foot detached accessory building, maximum size for this lot. The adjacent property has a significant stand of evergreen trees which straddle the property line. There's a 10-foot concrete slab on the south side of the attached garage with a row of arborvitae trees adjacent to the slab. The third factor is that the variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. This factor is used to consider whether the resulting structure would be out of scale, out of place, or otherwise inconsistent with the surroundings. For example, when thinking about a variance for an encroachment into a setback, the focus is how the particular building will look closer to a lot line and that if it fits the character of the area. In this case, in the Norsland Manor, 37 of the 74 parcels have detached accessory structures. 3 of the 37 have the detached accessory structures nearer the front line than the primary structure. However, they were constructed in 2008. Section 14 detached accessory structure ordinance was amended to include the language of no closer than the front lot line than the primary residence in 2020. The standing tree growth between the proposed detached accessory structure and the front line may screen it from the view of the public right-of-way. On February 27th of 2024, the Planning Commission met and held a public hearing, and after discussion recommends approval of the variance to the City Council. The City Council should review the request, consider the Planning Commission's formal recommendation, and approve the variance as presented in Resolution 2024-21.
Thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-21 approving the variance.
Second it.
Motion's made and seconded to approve resolution 2024-21. All those in favor?
I got a couple
Discussion.
Excuse me,
Discussion.
discussion, I was just testing you guys.
Aaron, do you have any indication of where they would like to place the structure?
I do. Give me 1 second to find. Looking for the map.
Yeah, the homeowner has it staked out already if you drive by his property.
Okay, he's gonna bring it up. Here we go.
This is where the applicant would be conceivably required to place the building. He's requesting to place it in front of this line over here.
Over where the black truck is,
Okay, I see.
so it ties into the driveway that we already have.
Yep. Makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yep,
Couple questions.
absolutely.
How about you, Bob?
Yeah, I got a couple here. I watched the planning commission meeting and normally don't agree with too much. However, it came up that it met two of the three stipulations. Oops. One is that, let's see here. Things getting all boogered up here. Okay, let me go to 2. That the landowner's problem is due to circumstances unique to the property, not caused by the landowner. The uniqueness generally relates to the physical characteristics of the particular piece of property, that is, to the land, not personal characteristics or preferences of the landowner. When considering the variance for a building to encroach or intrude into a setback, the focus on this factor is whether there is anything physically unique about the particular piece of property, such as sloping topography and other natural features like wetlands. As far as I can tell, there's nothing unique about it. And it's, you know, he built the house in the garage. You built the house in the garage? Or you bought it that way?
Built the house. House was built in '86. I moved in 1999.
That's the thing that's unique about it, is the house is in the center of the lot. At least that's the way I read it. It's not the topography, it's just the fact that it's in the center of the lot, so you're limited on where you can put it, practically speaking, the garage.
Well, I guess that's a definition then that we gotta figure out. Not tonight, obviously, but, I mean, what's unique now at Coon Lake Beach, that's kinda unique because they're 20-foot lots, and that's all, that came out in 1925. So that to me is unique, and with the white pines and the way things are set up, there isn't any other way that you can do stuff over there. And seeing how, this is just a variance for the one, right? I mean, it's not gonna say if he does it that anybody in the world can do it. I have my reasons for thinking this way. So
You wanna
that,
share what they are?
no.
We're just
I'll
supposed to
need a legal
guess.
expert.
Mayor, members of the council, I did prepare both an approval and a denial resolution. The planning commission recommended approval. That's why you only saw the approval. I'm more than happy to bring up the denial if you'd like to
No.
review that.
We're
You
good to
certainly
go.
can.
I call a question.
Well, did you get the answers? you
Yep.
needed? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving Resolution 2024-21, say aye.
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 Opposed? None heard. It passes unanimously.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Enjoy your,
It's a retirement garage.
there you go. There you go. Do we have any department reports or city council staff reports, anything, guys?
I got a couple of things for council reports.
Okay. Let her roll.
2 items. Spring is fastly approaching us. I was wondering if we should be setting some dates for the spring town hall meeting. If we want to get that on our next agenda.
What's your thoughts on that, Mr. Look? I broached that question to you on Friday.
Well, we can certainly set a time whenever you guys want to have that.
Yeah, we usually pick a month and see what days that get to pick out 5 days and see what works for everybody. So, then my other question is, broadcasting the work meetings,
Mm-hmm.
if we're gonna start doing that.
Mr. Mayor, I had a chance to speak with all the council members. There are 3 that like the way that it's conducted. In other words, it's an open meeting. Anyone can attend the meeting. But
then there's able to be more robust discussion than might be otherwise on on a meeting that's televised. So 3 are in favor of the current method of doing it. 1 is opposed and 1 is indifferent. So
I'm indifferent.
So, so from a majority rule standpoint, I guess we'll continue operating as a non-televised, open to the public meeting. And it is noticed in terms of what the topics are going to be and the information discussed.
And you told me you canvassed the adjacent towns? And
Yes, I've contacted Ham Lake, Oak Grove, Anoka, Ramsey,
St. Francis?
I did not contact St. Francis. I can reach up there. But
Oh,
the
whatever.
majority of them do not televise, because it's, again, it's just an opportunity really for council to talk through issues. And it's no decisions are made in these meetings. It's just if the consensus is we move forward on a given topic, then it will go through staff, we'll prepare a case for it, it'll come to a council meeting, and then it's at that point that a vote is taken, up or down on whatever that topic is, so.
Well, my opinion is they always have been. I think the residents should be informed of the decisions that we're making and how we come to make those, and where we discuss sending out more newsletters and saying how can we inform our residents better, how can we improve the communication. I think broadcasting our work meetings should be done. That's just my opinion on it.
Duly noted.
There's nothing decided at a work meeting. It's a general, just throw ideas out there, see what bounces. You know, if it was a serious issue and we were gonna make decisions based on what we did there, that'd be something different. But just like tonight with Mr. Jordan, I mean, it was a lot of discussion, and that's all it was. But I have nothing to hide, just for the record. I just think it's the way it should be.
You guys have any thoughts about it one way or the other?
No, I like it the way it is.
It's fine.
If it was a longer meeting, if it was a longer work meeting, I could see maybe looking into something like that, but when we're trying to discuss and get the things done like that, I believe it's, I like it just the way it is.
Okay, we can revisit it too. Maybe I'll stop being indifferent and ambivalent.
What came up, might have been before the meeting, is not talking into your mic
Mine was over
or
there.
too far away. I guess I don't, my voice, residents anyway, so. Well, that being said, I guess.
So
Anything else we need to,
those were my only 2 things I want to bring up.
Matt, Aaron, got anything?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just want to give a shout out to Carrie. I don't know if she's watching tonight or not, but did a fantastic job on the voting that occurred here for the primary. Everything went off without a hitch, and that doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, that is a lot of training, a lot of working with tough equipment and trying to make sure everything's followed, because there's people that'll, question every process, and they should.
Yeah.
And so that was a very successful undertaking on her part.
Very
And-
conscientious young lady.
Yeah,
Works very hard.
I was talking to her about that the day before, and she said that she has to come in at 5:30 in the morning and stays until 10 p.m. that evening, and then has to come in early the next morning again so that results can be sent in. It's a
Tough.
heck of an effort.
I'm lucky to have her. She's pretty smart. She's been around a little.
she
She's
is.
been around a lot. She knows what goes on here.
And then also I want to thank Aaron. He went down and testified on behalf of the city and all cities, as a matter of fact, with regards
Thank you,
to
Aaron.
House File 4009, I believe it is, which some may have, I put it in the weekly update, but it's essentially an attack on the local planning and zoning efforts that we do here by the state. enforcing different types of zoning requirements that may or may not be consistent with what we have, and
Attack on municipal sovereignty.
What date was that? I'm gonna go back and watch it. I wanted to watch that hearing.
that he testified in.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can find it for you.
We can send that to you.
I'll have
oh, yeah, you can send it, that's fine.
it was like last Tuesday, wasn't it, or something like that?
It's been a whirlwind of a week, so, yeah, maybe last Tuesday.
A little nervous down there?
It's a little intimidating.
Intimidating when you're
When
sitting
you're
in
sitting
front
right
of that
next to the
table.
guy who's proposed the bill and you're wanting to speak in opposition of it, yeah, that's a little intimidating.
I liken it to hockey practice and one goalie and, although entire team taking shots, that's kind of the defense that's happening right now with cities. And the legislators that are down there are they're running hog wild on issues. So, being abreast of what's happening and trying to stay on top of that and trying to defend against it is becoming a full-time job, unfortunately. In the past, obviously, without a trifecta scenario, you'd have opposing sides that kind of throttle some of that back. That has not been the case as of the last session and this session. And so we're trying to navigate through some of that and prevent some of the bad legislation from happening. Bad in the sense that they believe in an idea, but the way that idea plays out is different than maybe they've taken into account.
They never do look at the ramifications.
Try to be
It's
polite
just-
about it.
Oh, that sounds good, let's do it.
Yeah.
There are always unintended consequences, no matter what the decision is, so. It was
So-
February 20th, the House Committee on
I can look at that part of
Housing.
it.
February 20th, 3
It's
o'clock.
the middle housing bill.
Missing middle housing.
So where did it look like it was going when you were there? Or they were
It's
just,
going in the direction against cities.
well, it's gotta get past the Senate and then the full House. I don't think they can just pass that one,
No,
It's already been heard in the Senate.
has it? No, they're,
Both of them have been moved to working committees. At crossover time, it'll end up in conference committee for adjustments.
or
would be
may
my
get
guess.
dropped.
so every agency, League of Minnesota Cities, the metro cities, they're all opposed to it, and lobbyists are hard at work on this one. So I'd be surprised that it passes in its current form. However, it may pass in a form that's still not complementary to the work we do here. So we're gonna stay on top of that.
Good.
But aside from that, I think things are going well. So that'll conclude my report.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None heard.